Welcome to the Badass Direct Sales Mastery Podcast with your direct sales dom, Jenny Bellinger. Badass Direct Sales Mastery is a podcast for rock star direct sales moms who are determined to make their business kick ass. Jenny will share her knowledge of effective sales and recruiting techniques, tips to get what you want from your business, and will interview direct sales professionals and leaders from various companies. The interviews will give insight to how these rock stars got to where they are and where they plan to grow in the future. And now, the direct sales dom, Jenny Bellinger.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Badass Direct Sales Mastery Podcast. Today, I have a really fun guest with me. She is someone that I have known for, probably like 2 years now, I think. Marcy Cascio-Hale is somebody who has been with Rodan Fields for 3 years. And in fact, she is an executive consultant with the company, meaning she's had a few promotions, which is pretty cool. And we're going to talk more about that. But some of the cute, fun things you need to know about Marcy before we get started. Part of the reason that we really get along well is, first of all, she's a lifelong learner, just like me, just like you, because that's why you're listening to the podcast. She enjoys meditation, yoga, nutrition, wine, and chocolate. Those last two are why she and I get along really well. So she's also a rock star direct sales mom. She is currently married and has a 25-year-old son, but she did spend 20 of those years raising him as a single mom, working at the same time. So she's been through a lot. So if you think that maybe you can relate to that, you're going to want to listen to what Marcy has to say today. She has a really cool non-business related mission, which I think everybody should have some sort of charity, nonprofit mission that means something to them. And hers is all about helping to provide service animals for people, especially veterans and children who maybe have anxiety, PTSD, epilepsy, or diabetes. So these service animals help these people get through their daily lives, which is wonderful. And her Rodan Fields business has really changed how she views life and what she goes through. So, but rather than me talk about the business, I want to ask her questions about her view of her business and how this has changed her. So first, I'm going to welcome Marcy. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Oh, you are so welcome. I'm just so glad that you agreed to be one of the first people, because, you know, when it's a brand new podcast and you don't have anything to listen to, you're really taking a step out on a limb for me, which luckily I know you're someone who's somewhat of a risk taker, because we know people in direct sales are willing to take at least a little bit of a risk, right?
Yes, you have to be able to step out just a little bit, if not a lot, out of your comfort zone. So yes.
Absolutely. Yeah. So first, let's start out with the really the easiest question of all, which is...
Oh, I like those.
Yeah, exactly. So tell us how you got into Rodan Fields.
It's a very funny story because, I'm just going to dive right in because it's just hilarious, and you'll see why it's hilarious. Me and my sister are best friends. Her name is Melissa, and Melissa travels a lot for work. So she had traveled out to California. I'm in Illinois. So she's in Northern Illinois. I'm in Southern Illinois. So she flew out to California, and on her way back, she was sitting at LAX, and she was waiting for her flight, and she had a flat Stanley, which was a picture of her grandson that she was taking pictures of with her everywhere she went. So big tourist thing. And somebody came up to her and said, what's this about? And she said, well, this is my grandson. I'm taking pictures. And she's like, well, can I take your picture? And she's like, sure, that'd be great. And so they started chatting. Her name was Marla. She worked at a law firm. And so they had some connections. And as soon as Marla was getting ready to leave, she said, hey, can we be Facebook friends? And so she friended my sister on Facebook. Marla got on her plane. My sister was waiting for her plane, and she sent me this message, and she said, Marcy, you have got to see these pictures, because Rodan Fields is very much about before and afters, and which obviously my sister didn't know she was a Rodan Fields person. And so she's looking at her pictures and she's like, oh my gosh. So I looked at the pictures and I was like blown away. And so then my sister went and got on her plane, and I sent a message to Marla, who I didn't know. And I just wrote, I don't know what this is. I don't know how much it costs, but it looks like it works. I want it.
Nice. That's like every direct sale rep's dream.
Right? And I'm a rock star. So, I mean, how awesome is that? Right. Hey, have you ever thought about selling? And I was like, no, not really. And she said, well, the biggest discount is to become a consultant, and you don't have to buy anything ever again. You get the 25% discount or whatever. And she's like, so what do you think? And I was like, okay. And I got my products, started loving my products, and shared them with my sister. And she said, so do I join underneath you? And there we had a team.
Nice.
Yeah. And that, I know it's crazy, but it's fun. I mean, it's been a real highlight.
That's super cool, because obviously this points out one thing for sure. So for somebody to be successful in direct sales, they've got to be willing to talk to strangers. Because Marla took a step out and went and talked to your sister to say, hey, what's going on here? And she didn't make it about the business. She was just being curious and being a friendly human being and saying, hey, what's this about? Hey, how can I help you? And in the end, she got 2 new team members.
Yes.
So it's okay every once in a while, everybody. And I'm talking to you in the Badass Direct Sales community. It's okay to talk to strangers, and you're going to have to talk to strangers if you want to be successful in direct sales. That's pretty much a given. So would you say that now that you've been in the business for over 3 years, is this something that you regularly practice, is reaching out and talking to new people?
Yes. And it's not as hard as it once was. I mean, it's still a challenge, but for me anyway, it seems as soon as you rip off that Band-Aid and you start just boom, ba-doom, 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 it gets easier every single time. It's like picking up that 500-pound phone like we've talked about before. It weighs less and less and less every time you pick it up. So just the continuation is really important. Yeah.
I know everybody's heard this a million times, which is everything that you really, truly want in life is outside of your comfort zone. You're going to have to get outside of your comfort zone in order to be successful. So people who are listening, who tend to be more on the introverted side in direct sales, because introverts can be very successful. There you go. See, Marcy is raising her hand. For those of you who are listening to the podcast, Marcy's raising her hand and saying she's introverted, which I find really hard to believe. She's actually what most of us in the coaching world would call an ambivert, meaning she can be extroverted when she needs to be introverted. Yes, ambivert. So you can be extroverted when you need to be introverted when you need to recharge your batteries. So anybody who needs to be have that quiet time, like literally just be sitting in their car, like no music, no nothing, just they need that quiet. They need that nobody talking to them, nobody needing anything from them. People who are in that are probably have a little bit of introvert in them. So then there's those of us who are like me, who are very extroverted. So this is the training part of the interview, right? So the extroverted people actually gain energy from being around people. Like we walk out of a room of 400 people on a high. We're not exhausted. We're like buzzing because we have so much energy, because we literally absorb the energy of being around that many people, and it builds us up, right? So if you ever find that that's your sense after doing that. Now, I'm going to tell you, for those of us who are also ambiverted, because I can be introverted at times, we're going to have that crash afterwards. We're going to go from being on a buzzy high, and then we're going to crash, and we're going to need to sleep. So hopefully that event that you have with 400 people is at night, because you're going to get home, you're going to sleep really well, because you're going to drive home like, oh my God, that was so cold, blah, 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 right? And then you get home and you pass out. So you just had a really cool, I love that you were not recruited necessarily into Rodan Fields. You found your own way in. Now, Marla did ask the question, right? She did say, hey, have you ever thought about this? And that's a great way to start the conversation for that. Now, you've been doing this for 3 years. I know you just had your Rodan anniversary a few months ago. Whoop, whoop.
It was great.
right?
Yay!
In looking back at 3 years of being in business, what would you say has been one of your biggest obstacles?
Well, everybody has a down day, down week, a down month, where you just don't feel like you're gaining any momentum. And for me, I'm okay with going through that, but it's really hard when you see other people giving up on their dreams for what they had in mind for this business. Because anybody can do this business. It's not rocket science. It just takes doing the do. I mean,
Right.
you just have to reach out to people, and you have to put yourself out there. And some people, that knocks them down, and they just never get back up again. And so for me, it's really hard to see the people that I know are strong enough and have such potential for this business to bring all of their dreams into reality, to just give up.
Yeah.
And so for me, that's the hard part, because I'm a team person. I am so team oriented that I will drag you along if you're in the mix. You know what I mean?
Right.
So if you're in to win, you're part of the team. We're going to win. But if you fall off that team and you don't recommit, that makes me sad, because I think we can all win.
Absolutely. But I can certainly understand that sense, because that's part of why I got into the coaching realm, was because I had been in my direct sales business for about 5 years at that point in time. And, I was seeing people coming and going and coming and going and coming and going. And I'm sitting here going, why are they going? Like, I saw them have this amazing, they had an $1,800 party.
Right.
And they made about $600 in one night. And then 2, 3, 5, 6 months later, they've fallen off the face of the earth. And it's like, how does this happen? Why is it that some people stay and some people don't? And I think it's really, there's a lot of different factors. So for you, seeing people coming and going and knowing that that was kind of hard, because you develop relationships with these people on your team. And even if they're not on your team necessarily, but they're under your leader, and so they are your sisters in the organization, right? How was it that you were able to stay motivated and stay on board despite you saw people leaving and what felt like giving up on their dreams?
Well, I've been very lucky to have some accountability partners, and they re-put that dream right back in front of my face. And they remind me of how far I've already come. I mean, and not just with this business, just in life. I've done hard things before. This is not hard. This is not birthing a baby. This is not law school. This is not hard.
Right.
The rejection is a little difficult, but I'm just reminded this isn't as hard as anything I've ever done before. With the grand prize that I'm hoping to achieve, isn't it worth just to keep going? And it's nice, because I've had people that have just brought that back around. So
that's awesome. And so would you say then that was maybe one of your secrets to success, was having some sort of accountability partner, some sort of accountability, or just building a team around you? I mean, tell me more about that.
Well, everything is more fun when you share it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And I don't want to even say fun. Everything, if you go to a funeral and you're in the back with your friends that are, and you're busting up laughing because of the experiences you've had. I mean, everything is better when you're together, and everybody is stronger than the sum of their parts. So yeah, I think it's very advantageous to have somebody in your corner. I've had power partners. I've had coaches. It's just one of those where you have to have somebody in your corner reminding you why you're doing it, because they have the angel devil on your shoulders, and that angel wants you to succeed. That devil, it doesn't get you very far. So I've had a couple angels on my shoulder. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
That's awesome. No, very good. So I definitely agree. When you can build a relationship, especially one that's based on accountability, not just the friendship, but you're actually able to find a way to hold each other accountable without destroying the relationship. That's really important because not everybody knows how to do that. And luckily, it looks like you've found that balance of being friend and caring enough to actually hold each other accountable, because that's really important.
It's difficult. It's a struggle because you want to still be a friend, but you're not being a friend if you're not reminding them of X, Y, and Z.
Right. Absolutely. And helping hold that in front of them and them doing the same for you and asking them, please, I need you to be that person who cares enough about me to remind me why I'm doing this and keeping my goals in front of me. Because sometimes we get so bogged down in the minutia of the business that we forget about our why, or we forget about the next big goal or whatever. We just keep thinking about that next preferred customer, that next team member, instead of going, okay, why am I doing this? And knowing that this is a major part of why you are in business is to actually get to the point, because you and I have worked together a little bit. And, so one of your goals is to get to the point where you've got this thing for retirement.
Yes.
Right. And so being able to have this empire built such that you can retire very comfortably and not worry about continuing. And what I do have to share, that one thing that I see that's very different about people who are in Rodan Fields compared to other direct sales companies is you guys seem to have a lot of what would be considered high profile people who are in the business. So as you mentioned, Marla is an attorney.
Well, she manages the law office. Yeah.
Okay, but she's there you go.
Yeah.
So, but she's in that
professional
kind of
position.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. You, for your day job, do you mind sharing what you do for your day job right now?
I am an attorney. I'm an appellate research attorney.
Very good. Yeah. One of the other people that I interviewed for this podcast is a dentist.
Yay!
I know, right? And so what I'm actually seeing with Rodan Fields, I know that there's another person in Rodan Fields who is a website and technology business owner. There's someone else in Rodan Fields here in our area who is a TV anchor, so news anchor. So these are very high profile positions. These are, and you don't typically see that with some of the other direct sales companies, which I find it fascinates me. Like what's different about this company that it's bringing in so many high profile people?
Do you want me to guess?
Yeah, I would love to hear your thoughts on it because you're in it, right?
Well, number one, it works. The products work. And so it's from the doctors who created Proactive. They have a brand and brand integrity that outshines pretty much everything. They are educated. They are Stanford trained dermatologists. So when you're in the professional realm, you're already looking for that extra step to make sure that it's a good product and that you're joining the right profession again. So I think you see the potential. And in my upline, I have a cardiovascular surgeon, nurse practitioners, and nurse anesthetists. I mean, like you said, I also have pastors' wives, stay-at-home moms. But the fact that it's such a diverse group, it creates additional credibility because you're having all of these people finding out and researching and saying, yeah, this is a great company. And yeah, this business model works. Yeah. And the direct selling, we've gotten a bad rap in the past. And really, I just think I'm a mom. When somebody buys products from me, they're helping my family. When somebody buys products from Walmart, I don't know who they're helping.
Right.
So if I can purchase products from somebody I know, love, and trust, and I'm helping their family, that's 20 times better. That's the best use of my money.
Yeah, so. I definitely agree with that. I mean, I grew up with my mom being the person who would regularly have the Tupperware party, the Mary Kay party, all that kind of stuff. So I grew up around direct sales and not realizing that it had like a little bit of a bad rap.
Mm-hmm.
You know, my mom never actually chose to do direct sales. So then when I went into the business, she was really excited because then she was one of my biggest supporters. Now, that's very different when compared to my sisters, because sometimes you'll hear people go, oh, well, you know, my sister won't even have a party for me. Yeah, guess what? Neither did mine.
Right.
I still got those trophies right there. If you're watching on the video, you can see my trophies. If you're listening on the podcast, if you're listening on the podcast, you may have to go watch the video to see, you know, those trophies did not come from my sister.
Right.
You know, it was the building of a business. I love that, you know, or actually one of the missions of my business is to actually help change the perception of direct sales by working with my clients in such a way that they are doing business in a way that people don't roll their eyes. People don't avoid you at the grocery store or the post office, you know, in such a way so that people actually see you as a business person and not just part of a pyramid scheme, which I think is just super silly. So that's really, I think, an important part of this. We talked about how you got into it. We talked about your obstacles, which a lot of us, you know, if we've been in the business for any period of time, we've seen people come and go. And that can be kind of heartbreaking if you see someone who's a very close friend who just all of a sudden just disappears and they won't call you back. And even if they're not on your team and you're sitting here going, hey, what's going on? And they're ashamed that they didn't cut the mustard, whatever that may be. So that can be a tricky thing to see people come and go like that. But your secret to success was really those accountability partners and having them help hold your goals, hold your why right in front of you. So that way you weren't going to be the next statistic in direct sales. That's really cool. Well, thank you so much for coming on to the Badass Direct Sales Mastery podcast, Marcy. It's been so great having you here.
Well, thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. And I know the podcast is great and it's going to be fantastic. I'm really proud of you.
Thank you so much. And guys, if you want to get in touch with Marcy, she is a member of the Badass Direct Sales Mastery community on Facebook. So if you join the community, you can reach out to her. Otherwise, is Facebook probably the best way to get a hold of you, Marcy?
Yes, probably. And my Facebook handle is Marcy Wolfe Cascio-Hale.
Absolutely. So I'll put the link to her Facebook profile so that in the show notes, so that way you guys will know how to get a hold of her if you want to reach out to her because maybe you've never heard of Rodan Fields. Maybe you're in Rodan Fields and you're struggling and you want to talk to somebody who's been through those issues before. Marcy's a great resource and she's going to be able to help keep that positivity because she is a super positive person. I don't think I've ever seen you less than positive. Even in your downtimes, you're like, okay, we're going to figure this out.
Yes. Yes.
So, awesome.
And we did the math and we figured it out, didn't we?
Right. Exactly. So thank you again so much for being here. And everybody, make sure you keep tuned, subscribe, rate and review, and share with a friend if you actually care about them and their business. So we'll see you guys and be ready for the next badass interview.
Thanks for listening to the Badass Direct Sales Mastery Podcast with your direct sales dom, Jenny Bellinger. Why are you waiting to go to badassdirectsalesmastery.com? Don't make the dom get her whip. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to share it with another rock star that you know in direct sales after you subscribe to the podcast so you won't miss any future episodes. You can also check out the show notes for links and any contact information mentioned in today's episode. We'll see you next time.